Welcome back, everyone, to the Get Shit Done podcast. It's yours truly, Julie Jones, with the Adventures of Julie Jones, where each and every single week, I bring you amazing guests from around the world. And of course, each and every week, I promise you that this week is no different. So I've had the pleasure of not only being friends with this woman, but also working with her on a publication that I did. So Lil, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello. Oh my gosh, it is so great to have you here. And I'm super excited because you and I just had a conversation not too long ago, and we probably could have talked for hours. And that's what I love about you. You're easy to talk to. You're a wealth of knowledge. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are, you know, what makes you so unique, what you bring to the party, and the floor is yours.
Oh, sure. Lil Barcaski, I am proud to say I'm the CEO of GWN Publishing and Virtual Creatives. GWN Publishing stands for Ghost Writers Network, but we don't actually ghostwrite a lot of the books we publish. So I think it would be probably make people really mad if we put Ghostwriters Publishing on all the books that we did not write. So we use GWN Publishing because that, you know, it's kind of us. And I've owned Virtual Creatives for many years, and that is our web division marketing side of things. So we're kind of this like one-stop shop for people who want to build their business specifically, especially around a book. So if you know you want to write a book, a workbook, a course, maybe a memoir, and you want to go out on a speaking tour, we're the place to go because we can kind of get everything for you. We can put your book together, get it ready to be printed, put it all over the world. We can even help you a little bit with your speaker training. So make your speeches for you, help you do all that stuff, all that cool stuff. And then if you want a website, we just do all that, your business cards, logos, the whole nine. So
I love
cool
that
way to do it. Yeah.
One-stop shop, right? And so why is it? Because, you know, like I've done several books, and I know that there's a lot of power behind being an author. What is, like, if you had to narrow it down, what do you think is like the number one reason why, you know, people should consider writing a book?
I want to say honestly that, you know, you hear it all the time. It makes you the expert. People see you as the expert. There's actually several reasons to write a book, and they vary depending on who you are and what your reasoning is. So when you come to me and you say, Lil, I want to write a book, I ask you three questions. And the three questions are, what is this book going to do for someone? Identify that person. Who's the person that's going to read this book and get something out of it? That's the first thing. We need to know that. The second thing, and it's going to sound like a Julie Jones crazy question, why the heck should I listen to you? Because really,
It is a Julie Jones crazy question.
and it feels like something you would say too. Like, okay, great, but why in God's name, you know, would I listen to you? And what are your credentials? And it doesn't mean you have to be a professor or whatever, but I've done 20 years in real estate, or I've done 15 years as a mortgage, or I've got certifications in this and that. Or I've been through some really bad shit and I want to not let you go through that as well. You know, so I'm going to take you through what happened to me so you can see. So that's the what, you know, why should I listen to you for? And then the biggest, and in some ways, the most important question is, what's this book going to do for you? And with the minute someone says, I'm going to sell 1 million copies and be J.K. Rowling, I think, I thank them for having a nice conversation and I walk away, because that's not what it is. I did have a woman yesterday, though. I asked her, why, you know, what do you really want? Why are you writing this book? Because it's a weird story. And she said, and we both talked about a book called Running with Scissors, which is a very famous memoir that was pretty brutal about his family. And I had mentioned it, and she said, I want to write a really great book. I wanted to write a best-selling book. I want to write the kind of book that people go, yeah, this is the thing. And I said, great, let's write a book together, because I would love to write the next Running with Scissors. So it all really matters on what your bent is. Do you want to be a speaker? If you want to be a speaker, you probably should have a book. If you want to teach courses, you should write a workbook that you can hand out, because it's really, really fun when we get past 40 to go back to school. So it's nice to gamify it by giving them, and I love gamification. I don't know about you, but you know, when I have a workbook, I have something to write in. So you're going to do a course, you know, for $7 or $8, you can send them the book, and now they've got your workbook right in their hand while they're taking your course. So it's a great thing to do. If you want to move people for some reason, and you're going to write a memoir. We had a lady who wrote a memoir called Pieces. I think it's called Pieces. Her husband, this glorious, wonderful man, was abusing all 3 of her daughters. Had no idea. She couldn't understand why the kids were getting progressively angry at around 14, 15, each of the girls. And what a story, so she wants to tell other women what she went through, and that you can get through it and you can heal. So it really depends on your motive. What do you want to write a book for? And we'll figure it out.
Well, and it's, like the transparency of telling a story like that, so many people, because I work with people and sometimes coach them around the mindset. Like they want to write a book, they might not think that they're an author, like whatever, whatever the situation is. But it's about changing one person's life. Like if only one person ever bought your book, but it made all the difference in the world, then that's the reason why the book was written. Right. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's just to get stuff off your chest. Right. Like, and it's almost like therapeutic, I think, for some people to really write it on paper.
Yeah, and we're okay with that. I mean, we have one that never got published about a woman's life, and she was one of the first children whose parents were in the Hare Krishna movement, not from India. American kids, 1920 and back in the 60s, got roped into the whole mess, and the life she went through because of their parents' horrible mistake was pretty brutal. But her mom just died not that long ago. Her dad's still alive, sister's alive. I don't know that she'll ever publish it, but she got it off her chest, and it was quite the story. So
Right.
sometimes, and then most people do publish, and some people get stuck. They get scared and they don't publish, and they're afraid of what's going to happen after they've told the story. So, but I like when people are ready to put this into the world, because our motto is writing for the greater good. We write and publish for the greater good at GWN. That's what we do. And if you're going to make change, affect lives, we're the company to come to.
And you are. I mean, so how many books? How many books have you totaled up? Maybe did you know I was going to ask this? I don't know.
No,
Like if you had
I've
to
lost track.
estimate, like how
Oh
many
boy.
books have you done?
I know that I just bought 100 ISBNs because we went through quite a few already. That's the second round buying. Well, all right. So backstory: I started the company about 6 years ago, but it wasn't doing everything. It was kind of balancing a lot with virtual creatives, doing a lot of websites. We're now doing mostly books, very few websites, although we love doing websites. And then over COVID, I partnered with a friend of mine and kind of JV, what we call a joint venture partnership. And COVID just took her out of the knees because she's a graphic artist and there was nothing to do. So, but everyone wanted to write a book. So about 2.5, 3 years ago, it really started to ramp up. But I walked away from that and started all over again last October. I think actually our LLC was December. So we're about a year and a half in. And this year and a half, gosh, well, we did 12 books with one woman alone. So let's start with that, including her children's illustrated book of her child that wrote. Her child wrote a children's book. I'm going to ballpark it at 45, 50. We have 4 coming out this week. So we're averaging 4 or 5 books a month we publish.
And that's amazing. And that's a lot. And so how do you personally like keep track of everything that you're doing? Do you have systems? I mean, this is the Get Shit Done podcast, right? So sometimes inquiring minds always want to know, well, what are people doing? Because that's a lot. That's a lot of moving parts. It looks like you got a notebook there.
I have a notebook. I have everything. If I turn the camera around, I have a whiteboard over there. I have a paper notebook and pen over here. I've got on my list on my Word doc, and of course I have my Google Calendar, which I cannot live without. I would die. A friend of mine asked me today if I could help her with a song she has to sing. One of our best friends, one of my best friends, passed away unexpectedly. She was kind of the town musical diva. We all played with her. And we're having this huge event on Saturday. And this young lady is a very good friend of mine, and she has to sing 2 or 3 songs. And she's like, "Can you meet me around 12:30?" It was about 8:30 in the morning. And wait a minute. I had to look at my Google Calendar. I had no idea. Without it tells me every 10 minutes, do something. Julie needs you. So calendars, pen and paper, lists on paper. I know I have, I make lists. I just started 4 new books this week, some of which I have little to do with, some I have a lot to do with. I have 4 or 5 clients that are talking to me about their books. I've got compilation books that have to start. And then then there's the Center of Influence. I started that on Saturday, so which is wonderful. We started a thing with 2 other venture partners called the Center of Influence Community, and that is very high power compilation books, anthologies, no more than 10 people per book, 5,000 words chapters. And then they stay in our community for 2 years, where we're training and working toward, like, what do we do now that we've written an anthology? How do I use that chapter in a million ways? So they get to be executive members in the organization, and we're taking membership on top of that. So just people want to be members. So it's busy. And so I just, I have a pretty sharp mind in terms of remembering things, luckily. I can't say I have an eidetic memory, but I have a very, very good memory. And a lot of stuff I just write down. I just write it down.
Well,
Mm.
and that's key, right? And sometimes, and I love the fact that you use the Google Calendar, because I've switched over to electronic as well, and it is like I'm checking it like 5 times a day just to make sure that as much as like everything alerts me, that I'm still not missing anything, because it's so easy to do when you're in the moment and you're really engrossed in a project. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing next? Like, I know there's something, because we all have that innate feeling like, oh my gosh, like, what am I missing? And I love something that you just said, because that was going to be my next question, is that you are doing some of the training behind, because there's one thing to have a book, right? And then it's like, you have a book and then it's like, then what? Right? Because so many people have their book, but like not too long ago, I ran across a woman who was part of a collaboration, and she still doesn't consider herself an author, and she's barely promoting the book. And, we had a whole conversation around that, but it's like, yeah, then what? Now what? Like, talk about that, because I think a lot of people miss that boat.
Right. So the book to your right, the tool book, the toolkit book, I wouldn't have even done that book because I missed my first appointment with Dawn because my Google Calendar didn't tell me. And then Dawn missed her appointment with me, and we figured it all out. We finally did this book. That's a good example of people who really worked hard to get a compilation book to be more than just a book, right? So Dawn and Jill knocked themselves out. There's seminars, they did videos, and everybody got a video clip. But still, as great as that is, and it is great, and there's a community there. The people in the Hey Taxi community will continue to push the book, will continue to find ways to utilize the book. But they'll, in that space, in that vertical. Well, we've done about a dozen of these kinds of books. We did 2 with one company. We have another one coming out right now, Life by Design. The people that are in those books either do one of 2 things. They either completely walk away. I had one, I won't mention, a coach, very nice lady, but once the book was done, that was it. She didn't do anything with it. We had another one that changed her complete direction. So, everything, right? So that's not going to happen. But the people who do stick it out, who have coaching clients or whatever, they stay in their little vertical and their little theme, and everybody kind of still roils together and tries to come up with fun stuff to do. But that's it. So it bothered me. So when Minnie came to me and said she wanted to do a couple of books called The Center of Influence, find some people. She has an executive women's book. We have her Leading with Light book coming out now. She said, we want to do that. I said, no, that's not enough. What I want is to create books in different kinds of verticals, right? So right now we have an executive women's book, all executive CEOs, and we have a book called Leading with Light, who are spiritual leaders. And hopefully Jay Reed's looking at doing one that's Christian leaders, and someone else is doing one on parenting they're starting to put together. So now when we have networking every Thursday night, you're not just meeting the person who's an executive woman like you are. You're meeting Luis, who's a spiritual leader in his own right and amazing. You're meeting people who are interested in parenting. They get together and they cross-pollinate. So we can start to do things like we can create summits, we can create events, we can create speaking engagements that cross over different genres, different themes, different business styles and types. That's what was missing, in my opinion. So the problem is that I think Colleen spent a small fortune to be in a book and nothing happened with it. So you have to decide, either you're going to do something on your own with it, or the people who produce the book have to really continue to keep momentum going, or you join something like Center of Influence where we're keeping it going. You have to find ways to utilize that book. It's the best way to get a speaking engagement. You have to not be afraid to say, I'm an author. Many of we've created now 250, 300 best-selling authors with just the compilation books. So, I'm a best-selling author. Okay, hire me to be on your stage, or you can give the book away. You can sell the book at the back of the room and sign your chapter. You can ask the producer to give you just your chapter, which we do as part of what we do for Center of Influence. Your 5,000 word chapter will be your own chapter. You're going to have your own cover, and it'll be a PDF that you can use for lead generation. It's a great lead gen. The anchor chapter, I'll put it on your website and give it as a lead generation. Do something with it. but you
Right.
have to do it yourself. You have to do some marketing. You have to make the best of what you've got there. Everyone in the toolkit has their own book now, their own chapter as a secondary book, which is great. Go use it, give it
It
away.
is. Well, and it's funny that you should say that because, I'm in the process of, doing some things and adding lead gen, to my website. And that's exactly, one of the things is having, that chapter of the book, created. And it was such a great gift. It was such a gift that I have to say that when Jill and Dawn did that for us with the entrepreneurs, like toolkit for success, I took then the chapter from my own book, and did the same thing. Like I had that created as well, because that was like a new thing for me. I was like, this is so awesome. Like, it's always like that. Why didn't I think of this before? But that's where the collaboration of all of this stuff comes into, is that somebody has an idea and then you support and help everybody else.
I always say your book is your mothership of your business, right? So if you write a book on whatever the subject is, every time you go to do a social media post, it should come from the book. Every time you go to do a speech, it should come from the book. Every time you do a workshop, a course, anything, you should go back to the book and say, what have I already written that I can cross use, or I can pump up or alter a little bit and use it. And like I said, sell it from the back of the room, especially when you write your own book. I mean, there's so much you can do with it when you write your own book, but you cannot expect people to just find you on Amazon and suddenly you're J.K. Rowling. It's not going to happen. If you write the next Harry Potter, I promise you, you will be famous. It
Yes.
isn't because she knew somebody. It's because she wrote something no one else could have written in the whole world. And it
Right.
was
And it
really
took her
different.
years to get that out
Years.
too. Like all the rejection she got, and she kept just, putting it out there, putting it out there, putting it out there. And I think of so many times how people get that first no, and then they're done, and that's not the case. I know that you are amazing because I've worked with you, but for people who are listening in, like, and they're looking to write a book or they're looking for a publisher or whatever, what are some of the things that people need to be aware of or be looking for? Like maybe really good questions to ask somebody if they're considering working with them.
Well, okay. So if you can't write and you want to write a book, get a ghostwriter, but look at the pricing, look at what they've already done. I've written 30, 40 books myself of all different natures. I've ghostwritten 7 fiction books. Okay. So this is crazy, right? So find out what they've done. Get some opinions, get some testimonials. If you're going to write your own book, editors are hard. You got to find, again, get some references to editors, because it's very subjective and some of them aren't as good as others. And pricing, we edit by the word, because I don't know what your hours and mine. I know how many words you have, so it's an equation. This many words times this much money. This is what it costs. When it comes to publishing, publishers are often considered a lot like used car salesmen. We have this like bad thing. So, and there are great used car salesmen. There are really terrible ones, but there's a big difference between traditional publishing, hybrid publishing, and vanity presses. Right? You can self-publish, but I'm going to tell you right now, you've got to have a really great cover. You're not going to find necessarily a really good one on Fiverr. You might, but it could be not what you're looking for. And the problem is that maybe somebody else's art. You have to be really careful that it's not just somebody tossed something up there that's already done. You will look like everybody else. So if you're going to do this with a publisher, a traditional publishing is very difficult because there's very few people that are even doing that anymore. There are very few publishers. Oh, dog is barking. Sorry, you guys. Maddox. Come here, buddy. So traditional publishing is difficult because there's only a few of them, and you have to get everything together. You have an agent, you have to have all sorts of things. You want me to stop for a second and we'll get him to stop barking, because he's going to keep going. We have lawn people.
I don't actually hear him. So like,
oh, okay, good. He's barking at the lawn guy. He's barking at the lawn guy. The lawn guy's
Listen,
coming.
I have noisy coworkers too, and they're actually being pretty quiet today. So yeah, we're good to go.
All right, good, no problem. I just don't want him to disturb you. But so it's hard, and you've got to get a query letter going. You've got to get you've got to figure it all out and get an agent. It could take years, and it's very likely you won't get published because they expect you to have lots and lots of followers. Traditional publishing, that's tough. Hybrid publishing is kind of what we do. We publish for, like, you go and get your oil changed. You know what I mean? I can't change my oil, and I obviously don't mow my lawn. So we do all the work. We get your book cover done, your ISBN numbers, your interior design, and we charge you for that. You pay us a flat fee, and that's it. And then we don't take royalties of any kind. the money goes to you. There are lots of people, though, who charge twice what we do and still take 20% of royalties, and they have a lot of control of your book. That's fine. We just don't do it that way. And then there's what I like to call vanity presses, which is how I wound up with Mindy. Mindy had a book that she was interested in to put together her first book. And she went to a press and they said, well, we'll publish the book, but you have to buy 2,000 copies of the book. We'll publish it for free. Oh, okay, good. But you have to buy 2,000 copies at $7 a book. Okay, that's pretty good because book's going to be $20. But she'd have 2,000 copies of a book that she now paid $14,000 to have. And likely she was going to have 2,000 copies of a book in her garage. So sometimes that was pretty good. Most vanity presses ask for $10, $12 a book, and they expect you to buy 1,000 books or some large number of books. So they're really not publishers. They're in the business of print and ink. They want to sell you paper and ink, and that they don't care what the book cover looks like. They just want to sell you paper. So there's very different things. And when you look for a publisher that's going to work with you, get pricing from 4 or 5 different people, look at the book covers they've done, talk to some of the people that have worked with them, look at their interior design. Is it clean? Is it pretty? Is it modern looking? Or does it look like something from 1997? You have to figure that out. There's a lot of that. Also, we're a team. A lot of people say they're a publisher are basically graphic artists, and they are good at that, but they don't have a team. They just do all the work themselves, and they get swamped, and you're going to be waiting months to get your book published. Whereas there's 7 of us, so it's going to get done. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And I just really think it's, and thank you for sharing that, because so many people, they get excited and they meet someone. And I'm like a big one, like, you got to investigate. Like you got to ask the right questions and not be afraid to ask the right questions. Because if something isn't sitting right with you, I mean, we've all been burned. We've all been burned by things where we thought we were doing the right thing and turned out we weren't, or, we thought we knew and we didn't. Right. And so like, I really appreciate that. And like, sharing the information. And again, like all it takes is a conversation with you, because I know you, and like you're very, very open, very like, this is what you get. Right. And so, I love that about you. So we've talked about a lot of stuff. Is there anything that's still on your mind? Still like something that, like you want to share with the listening audience that you're burning to tell people about?
We are looking for people who want to put together anthologies. We have a marketing revenue share model. So people who have a particular group of people in any theme, and I would love to see us do health and wellness. I'd like to do some more books on religion. I'd like to do some more books on parenting. So if you're a coach or you're somebody with a big team, a big network, and you think you'd like to make some money doing this with us, and maybe even be in a book and still make some money, please talk to me about that, because the Center of Influence is really cranking. And anybody's welcome to come on a Thursday night and check it out. I'll send you some links to that. And come, we network every single Thursday night, 7:00 EST. So that's neat if people want to come. And other than that, I have a Calendly link, and I'm always happy to talk to people about a book they're interested in working on. Doesn't cost anything to talk to me for half an hour and tell me what you're looking at and tell me what you need. Fair
That's
enough?
awesome. What is the best way to contact you? What is your website?
Our best website, our biggest website is ghostwritersnetwork.com. It's ghostwriter with an S, ghostwritersnetwork.com. And you can find me there. And I am on Calendly. I am Lil the Ghost. So you can find me at Lil the Ghost, and I am easy to book a time with. And then, of course, Center of Influence Community is our new community center. Just Center, not the Center of Influence Community. We'll get you there.
Well, and we will make sure that we have all those links. And, I'm just thinking that like you need like a little ghost or something, like as part of like your logo, or as like a little trademark or something, like a little ghost, like because for I have this bomb now. I have this little bomb character, right?
You are crazy.
I know, I am crazy. So those of you who are listening in, I'm gonna have to put him on my my website. Like I got to have a picture of my bomb, because there's a significance behind it, because it is an actual trophy that I won for a sales competition just this year. But then because I'm a googly-eyed aficionado, I put the googly eyes on him. And every time he sits here, I look at him and he just makes me smile and he makes me laugh. And it's the little things in life that, like create joy for all of us. Lil, my final question is this, and I know you've kind of answered it, but let's just get, like even more specific. What are you doing to get shit done in your own life this week?
What do I what?
What are you doing to get shit done in your
What
own
am-
life this week?
Working 12 hours a day. That's what I'm doing. We're I just staying with the list on the paper here and checking it off as I go. So we're getting it done.
Well, good. Well, I hope you're having some fun in there along the way because, all fun and no play. Well, Lil, like nobody wants that in life. So,
Nope. Gonna go do some fun stuff in a little bit, actually. So good.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate your time. This conversation has been so enlightening. And I really appreciate you and you being in my circle.
Ditto, Chief. You're awesome. And you didn't wear any funny hats or anything today. You're not dressed for the 4th of July or
I know.
Easter bunny suits or any of that stuff. Oh, there we
I
go.
get throw my glasses on. You know what it is? And I do have like all kinds of fun stuff. It's so funny though. You should say that because prior to recording earlier today, I order my fun glasses that I give to people from the Dollar Tree. Now it's not the Dollar Tree anymore. It's the dollar and the $25 store, right? Like they up their prices. So I had ordered online. I had to go pick up my shipment. While I'm at the Dollar Tree, I'm like, well, let me just see what they have. And they already had out like 4th of July stuff and everything. So yeah, I might have bought some fun stuff, like, to have my fun stuff throughout the year. So
I love that store. I took my dad there. My dad was kind of a little autistic in ways. And I took him there and he was picking up one item at a time and saying, how much is this? And I said, that's $1. How much is this? It's $1, Dad. Finally, he picks up a piece of candy and they were 2 for $1. And he got me. He said, how much is this? And I said, 50 cents. Damn it.
that's hilarious. That's a great story to end on this. So for those of you laughing and listening in, I always appreciate your patronage. And of course, please like, share, have other people subscribe to this because our conversations are so much fun and I know they bring value. So if they don't bring value, then contact me and let me know so that I can make sure we're getting value to your life. So this is Julie Jones signing off for another episode of the Get Shit Done podcast. As always, have a productive, get shit done kind of week. We'll talk to you soon.